Hey Capricorn, welcome to your weekly forecast for November 1st through the 7th. We're going to connect here and see what's coming up for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Now, my dears and my darlings, you might stumble upon this video outside of the dates I mentioned. That's quite all right. You're going to stumble upon it whenever you're meant to hear the messages. Keep in mind, these are general readings. Not every message will resonate. So take what does and leave the rest. We're going to connect here, my dears. What's coming up here for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising? A couple more shuffles here. We want to get the cards nice and thoroughly shuffled. That feels good to me. Let's get right on into it, my dears. So, first card for Capricorn is the Five of Wands. Now, this is not all bad. Obviously, Five of Wands, traditionally speaking, can be seen as like conflicts, disagreements, sometimes an inward struggle, like internal struggle. And if I'm being honest, that's the vibe, energy I'm feeling around the card for Capricorn, is that this conflict is more something more so inside of yourself. Keep in mind, we are coming into new moon energy this week, and this is a time of manifesting. So sometimes we subconsciously pick up on that energy, and around the new moon, we might be thinking about, without even realizing, we might be thinking about what we want, right? Changes we want in our life, ways that we want things to be different. And for whatever reason, some of you are feeling inwardly conflicted about that. You might be feeling guilty for wanting what you want, or you may be feeling like what you want is going to disappoint somebody else, or like let somebody else down, or you just kind of might be trying to make up your mind, you know, like, do I really want this? Do I, like, what do I want? I feel like you're trying to figure out what you want, a lot of you. Now, if you are focusing on things like business or self-employment, Five of Wands is actually a really positive card to come up, because Five of Wands also indicates competition. Okay, and so if I'm doing a reading for somebody and they're doing like self-employment, or they're really focused on their career, Five of Wands says you are being seen as a worthy contender. You're being seen as an opponent. So there's basically people that are feeling a little bit intimidated by you, right? They're looking at you like, ooh, like who, Capricorn is on the scene. And you know, people are noticing you, and people are wanting to work with you and gravitating towards you. And so they feel now that they have to compete with you, right? So you might be in a work situation where you're trying really hard to make friends. Maybe for some of you, this might be a newer job, and you're trying really hard to make friends, and you might feel or sense like they're excluding you, or they're leaving you out, or they're being like catty with you in some kind of way. And you might be like, why does this always happen to me? Like, why can't I just have chill coworkers? Why can't I just have people who are cool? They feel threatened by you, right? So in a weird way, you just kind of have to take it as a compliment, right? Even though you would rather not have that situation, the reason why they're being this way is they feel threatened by you. So take it as a compliment. Some of you, there's a strong feeling of competition here. I do feel for a lot of you, there may have been conflict around the time of the full moon in Aries. That was a time where, you know, tensions were really high. And for some of you, this conflict may be resurfacing in the coming week. But I feel, Capricorn, like you're kind of done with it, because you've already moved on and you've already put your focus elsewhere, right? So this person might be coming back or resurfacing to continue an argument. And you're like, I've moved on. We're not having this discussion. And you're trying to figure out now where to put your focus and how you want to move forward, because somebody has been a distraction for you. Somebody has been a distraction. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a work situation. It could be a family situation. Sometimes when we're having this path of awakening and we're really getting on our spiritual path, there are lower vibrational people who come in as distractions, right? It's kind of like a like a cosmic spy versus spy kind of thing sometimes. And so some of you are beginning to see, like as you're awakening, you're beginning to see who the lower vibrational energy people are and who are the distractions, and you're cutting loose from it. You're breaking away from it and you're figuring out what you want and where you want to put your attention and your focus. Your next card coming up, Capricorn, is the Ten of Swords. So sometimes when I'm reading the energy, as I'm reading the cards, I get a little bit ahead of the cards, and that's what's happening here with the Ten of Swords. We said you're moving on, you're done, right? You see where the negativity is. You see where the toxic energy is. You see where the distraction is. And you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not engaging in this anymore. So Ten of Swords comes in traditionally also with the message of breaking out of a cause, like a karmic cycle, right? You're freeing yourself from it once and for all. So it could be a karmic cycle of just certain things that happen to you again and again, and you're breaking out of it. It can be a toxic relationship that maybe has been difficult to break away from. Keep in mind, relationship doesn't have to be romantic. It can also be something in terms of your career. You may be looking at a career change or going in a very different direction in terms of projects or things you were giving your time and your focus to. And Ten of Swords, for me, when it comes to things like that, like when you're making a decision to move or leave a situation, Ten of Swords has always come in for me in my readings with this bittersweet feeling. On one hand, the thought of being done with it and, you know, going on to something new feels really good. It makes you really happy. You're like, oh my gosh, like I think about it and I feel like this giant weight is lifted off my shoulders, right? It just feels good. It feels light, and you have this excitement for it. But then on the other hand, there's a little bit of sadness, because this thing that you're leaving once upon a time was a big deal. It may have been something that you felt opened a lot of doors for you, or it was a big accomplishment when you landed it. And so you have some fond memories, but now it's holding you back and it's hindering your progress. It's like wearing a shoe that's too small, right? And maybe, you know, most of us adults don't have that experience, unless, I don't know, it could happen, but usually most adults don't have experience or situation where they're growing out of their shoes. That's more like a childhood thing. But if you think back when you were a kid, if you got like a new pair of shoes and you were like so excited and you would wear them around the house and you like legit thought that they made you run faster and jump higher, and you just loved them and you just, oh my gosh, your favorite shoes ever. And then they start getting too small and you might be like, oh my gosh, but I don't want to get rid of these shoes. I don't want new shoes. I love these shoes. I don't know if you've ever had that experience as a kid, right? And so you keep forcing yourself, but eventually it's unbearable. You can't. You cannot do it anymore. And that's what the Ten of Swords is like for me. You might have sometimes some fond memories. You may have some sentimental attachment, but the pain of staying is too painful. And you're like, it's scary to leave, but it's too painful to stay in the situation. So you burst out of it, right? You can't stay any longer. So the Ten of Swords is going to be a permanent end. Okay, toxic cycle. It can also be breaking out of addictions. So if you had certain addictions, or codependency, or, you know, just something that you were doing in terms of self-medicating that's been hindering you or pulling you back, the Ten of Swords is breaking free from those kinds of energies as well. The next card coming up here for Capricorn is the Temperance card. Some of you can be dealing with a Sagittarius. If you have a Sagittarius placement, there can be big changes and shifts happening for you in that area of your life. Now, keep in mind, the major arcana cards are going to come up when we're at a significant crossroads. We're going through significant changes, and the situation we're dealing with is directly connected to something we came here to learn, something we came here to master. So anytime we're at these kinds of transitions, our angels and guides are around us, and they're helping us, right? We can't fail. As long as we keep moving forward, as long as we don't just give up and stop trying, we can't fail, because we came here to succeed at it. The Temperance card can be patience, balance, divine timing. In fact, I do feel a lot of you have Archangel Zadkiel around you right now, and I feel he's trying to help you guys break out of all or nothing thinking, like it has to be perfect or it's a failure, or it has to be everything or it's nothing. Like, kind of go easy on yourselves in terms of those expectations as you're going through these transitions. But the Temperance card here is going to be a card having to do sometimes with like doing something more purposeful, doing something more meaningful, stepping onto our life path, stepping onto our journey, right? So Spirit is giving me this really interesting visual of you guys as you're coming into the new moon. I feel like you guys are still releasing from the full moon in Aries, and some of you are going to be continuing to release for the next 2 months still. But as we're coming into the new moon, you're also receiving, right? As I'm looking at the energy, Spirit is showing me, like, Capricorn, it's like you have all these backpacks on, and you have these big heavy coats and bags and things you're holding on to. It's like you're trudging through the desert, and you have all kinds of layers of stuff on you, a big old heavy backpack, bags that you're carrying, things over your shoulder, things in your hands. It's like you're very burdened with things on you. And Spirit is showing me as you're walking through this desert, like little by little, these things are falling off of you. Like your load is lightening, right? Like, oh, there goes one bag, I just dropped that. Oh, there goes that one thing I was holding on, I just dropped that. Oh, that big old heavy coat that was, weighing me down and making me sweat like crazy, just drop the coat. It's all just kind of like trailing behind you. And so Spirit is giving me a sense or a feeling by showing me this, that your release is going to be very effortless. And it's not going to be something that is like hindering you from being able to go about your day. Maybe in the past, Capricorn, some of you had releases where like you had to full on call in sick to work, or you were in bed with depression or sadness or crying because it was so overwhelming, the things that were coming to the surface. But Spirit is giving me the sense and the feeling that in this release, it's actually every time you're releasing, you're like, ooh, I can breathe. I feel lighter. I feel lighter. So it's like this effortless release in which like you're feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. It's a beautiful energy. The next card that's coming up here for you guys is the Justice card. Now we have major arcana cards coming in back to back. When major arcana cards come in back to back for me, it indicates that there's going to be big changes in a really short period of time. Okay, and there's a lot of like karmic things clearing, things that no longer serve you being blasted out of the way. Big changes in a short period of time. Justice card can be seen as a Libra, right? Some of you could be dealing with a Libra in a situation, or if you have a Libra placement, there can be big changes happening for you in that area of your life. Now, with the Justice card, the meaning of the Justice card, it can come in terms of contracts or agreements. So we did feel like competitive energy, going in a new direction. A lot of you might be landing a very significant contract or offer in terms of business or career. Justice card can also indicate here the need to balance your head and your heart. So those of you who are coming into the week, and the 5 of Wands for you is you're feeling very conflicted. You're like, on one hand, I want this. On the other hand, I don't know if I should. And you're feeling this internal conflict and you're having a hard time making a decision. The Justice card is quite literally about bringing the heart and the mind into balance, into alliance, so that you can make decisions that are going to go well for you, right? Maybe in the past you feel like every time that I think logically, every time I make the logical decision and I'm being reasonable and I'm being, responsible and logical, I'm absolutely miserable. But every time I listen to my heart, I get burned, right? So you might feel like I don't know what to do. Like neither one is going well for me. The Justice card is the head and the heart in balance. So you're listening to your heart, but you're bringing logic into it. You're coming up with planning. You're coming up with strategy. You're not just willy-nilly jumping off the cliff and landing on your head. You're listening to your heart, but you're doing it responsibly. You're doing it with a plan so that this dream and this idea can work out. You're going into it prepared. So a lot of you Capricorns are going to be finding that balance in the coming weeks of balancing the head and the heart and learning that they actually can work together and be an excellent team instead of working against each other and you feeling conflicted. Justice card can indicate traditionally success in legal issues or civil lawsuits or things like that. Now, please don't come to me for a reading on legal issues. I will not do a reading on legal issues. I will not predict the outcome of a case. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I can't give legal advice. So I don't do legal type readings. I just need to say that. But traditionally speaking, this can indicate success in a court situation. And sometimes I see the Justice card come up because there's a lesson for you here in standing up for yourself. So maybe somewhere along the line, Capricorn, those of you who have this all or nothing thinking, where you're like, I have to be number one or I'm last. It has to be perfect or I'm a failure. Somewhere in your childhood, you may have been made to feel inferior. Maybe it was intentional, maybe it was not intentional, right? But you maybe had felt inferior. So you took this thing on you that like you have to be the best. You have to shine. You have to stand out. You have to be different. And in your mind, being number one is not making you better from everybody else. It's making you like deserving or worthy of being around. It's making you equal to everybody else. Like, I'm less than, so I have to overcompensate to keep up and to be worthy of having around. And so there's this sense of like inferiority. But sometimes I see the Justice card come up where you're having a life lesson in standing up for yourself and saying, hey, you're no better than me. You're not above me. Right? We're equal here. We're the same. And so maybe you had with this Five of Wands somebody that was giving you that conflicting energy or arguing with you over this full moon in Aries period, right? And you may be standing up to that person and just being like, look, you know, like, you don't have power over me. I don't have to do what you tell me to do. Or it's not, I don't have to feel bossed around by you. Or that I have to jump through hoops to make you happy. Are you jumping through hoops for me? I'm not going to be jumping through hoops for you, right? So there's a sense or a feeling of seeing yourself as an equal and fairness and balance and standing up for yourself. I see that happen with the Justice card. And if you do have a situation where you're like, this doesn't seem right, and I don't think my rights are being upheld, or this can't be okay. There must be some rights I have in this situation. Maybe you're having an issue with a landlord or a housing situation, and something just isn't sitting right with you. Like, can they really do that? Are they really allowed to do that? Or a work situation that's feeling unethical or off. I see the Justice card come up to say, hey, look, this might be a good time to stand up for your rights. You have some rights here. It would be a good idea for you to uphold your rights. Now, you can't do that without getting guidance, without getting counsel. So you would have to go and talk to a lawyer and say, hey, look, this is my situation. Are they really allowed to do this? Do I have rights in this situation? Typically, the Justice card comes up to let you know that if you do this, you're going to find out that you do have rights that might be worthwhile for you to fight for those rights. So if you've been feeling like something is off, or you're wondering, like, can people really do that? Are they really allowed to do that? You might be coming into a life lesson of standing up for yourself, and that may go into the courts for some of you. You may want to check out your moon sign and rising sign videos. Some weeks those are going to resonate for you more than your sun sign. You may need a private reading, which I'm more than happy to do for you. If you go to calendly.com/amethystangelite, you can schedule a private reading with me there. If you're looking for a love and romance reading, you can definitely click on the love readings for November, which are linked in the description. In the weekly forecast, I don't focus on love. Once a month, I do a love reading, and that's linked in the description. Thank you so much for those of you who have been sending donations. A lot of people have been asking me to send a donation, post a donation link, and I have. I'm working on emailing people. I'm a little behind on emails, so please know I will be reaching out. I will be thanking you. I get really overwhelmed, and I'm buried with emails right now, so I'm trying to get through them and reach out to everybody and say thank you. I am working on it. I love you guys. I appreciate you so very much. Thanks for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. Have a wonderful week, my dears. Take care, Cappies.